Michael Hall is the founder of the Fatherhood Engagement Program, Strong Fathers, Strong Families. Since 2003, this program has been implemented at schools throughout the United States and internationally, reaching over 225,000 dads and 500,000 kids. Michael sat down with Classroom Matters podcast host Christy Houle to discuss this important program.
I want to talk a little bit about the work that you're doing with Strong Fathers, Strong Families. And when I've listened to many of your lectures, I've listened to a lot of your presentations, and in a lot of those, you talk about the difference between fatherlessness and fatherfulness.
Early on in this work, we kind of figured out how to fill the room up. And that's really nice. But then when we had a full room, we had to decide, okay, what are we doing with them? Who are these guys, and all kind of stuff. And so the TED Talk that I did called Fatherlessness was really in response because most of this field, if you will, around fatherhood, typically more so at the government level, social service level, is all about deficit, right? Like these kids don't have dads. Well, and one of the things I say is 100% of the kids in our country have a father, because my dad taught biology. I know that's true. Now, the painful part is, we know a lot of kids don't have dads around. It is not as much as people think. And I still feel like we have a ton of work to do. That's not the issue. Our job is to engage dads. So when I was a middle school principal, the kids that came through my office with behavior academic problem either had no dad at home, which we understood, or kind of more shocking to me, there were dads at home that weren't connected. So what we have focused on in the field is all these kids that don't have a dad under the roof, right? 70% of the kids right now in the country live in two-parent homes. Their biological father may not be one of the two parents, but 70%, and that's it's definitely a number different than 1964, but it's not what people think. On top of that other 30% of kids that don't live under the same roof with their father, well, actually out of that 30%, about 10 to 12% of those single parent homes, at one time it was 17. I don't know that out of this study that would be that. But those kids are living with a single father, right? And we would hope that they would have access to their mother as well. But even those kids that don't live under the same roof with their father have regular access to their dads. One of the studies in Head Start, in inner city Head Starts, they found that 65% of the kids in that Head Start had regular daily or weekly access to their fathers. But the dads aren't on paper or the dad doesn't live there. And so we take all the assumptions and kind of push it over there. What we find is when dads are invited, they show up, right? Like these guys will come. I've had dads come to school things from, a dad came from Russia to El Paso for a bring your dad to school day. Was a military contractor working in Russia, jumped a C-130 to an air base in Germany, went from the air base to New Jersey, jumped a Delta flight to Jersey, from Jersey to El Paso to be there on a Friday, bring your dad to school day, and was returning back to Russia to go to work on Monday. We had another young man that came to Winona, Texas, which is a fantastic little town here east of Dallas. And he came from Djibouti, Africa. He was at Camp Lemonnier and took 2 days to get home, had a 3-day pass at home. The middle day was bring your dad to school day for his pre-K kid. So he went to class and he did this so he could be at this event, and then took 2 days to get back. That same thing about fatherlessness. A lot of the folks that are in the same field that I am, they don't profit from the solutions, they profit from the problem. So they don't have curriculum, they don't have things, and they're working with guys that, and I hate to say lowest common denominator, but these are guys that have tons of challenges, and there's a need for that work. I do some of that, but there's a need for that work, but that's not all the work that we need to do in fatherhood. You've got guys that are just seem to be at the top of their game in their fathering and parenting, their career. That may be 10 to 15%. We've got these guys that are struggling with addiction, struggling with multiple families, incarceration, all kind of issues. That's that other 15% that really needs that serious intervention. But then we're not talking about the middle 70%, which are heading one direction or the other. What do we do with that 70%? Because there's tons of dads that are just looking for a way to help their kid. They want to be engaged. They're not always sure about it. And so that's what we do, is we try to do everything we can to connect dads to kids and then help them stay connected.
To listen to the full podcast episode about Strong Fathers, Strong Families, visit Educate.Today.